We're both at 7 points, but I have to kill his Sona or he'll hold to win. But, why is this guy so annoying? Pay 1, recycle 1, Hextech Ray. Of course he has Defy. They always have Defy. Pay 2, recycle 2, Falling Star twice. What does he do? What? And not so fast as well? Okay, I've burnt his counters. Time for the big guns. Okay. Pay 6, recycle 2, Singularity. He can't have anything for this. What? Windwall? Nobody even plays that card. Fine. No way you have any more. 3-1, Void Seeker. Another f***ing Defy? 4 counters in a row! How does he have a handful of counters every time we play? It's always the same. Ooh, it was just a bad dream. Let's see him try and counter this. There you go, there you have it, Decree of Rage. Thank you very much to Riot for letting me announce one of the decrees from Vendetta. Super excited to see how Vendetta plays out. We've had a ton of really cool spoilers, and I hope my terrible acting did not put people off. So Decree of Rage, what does it do? It is a spell. It is one of the decree cards that we were talking about from this set, where each one kind of picks at the rival domain, the enemy domain. So this is the Fury domain card that is targeting the Calm domain. It's an action, it's a spell, cannot be countered. It's a set of words that we don't see too much on cards yet in Riftbound. Deals 4 to an enemy Calm unit. So you're going to pay 1, recycle a red, and then as long as it is either your turn or your opponent is in a showdown with you, you'll be able to deal 4 to an enemy unit. And I thought, okay, dealing 4 to a unit sounds pretty good. What units could we deal 4 to that would be enough to take a unit off the board, away from a battlefield? It, of course, is deal 4 to an enemy Calm unit anyway. It is not just on a battlefield. That is something to be very aware of. Location is not a factor in the resolution of Decree of Rage. So when we look at new cards from Vendetta, what does that look like? Riven Shattered, I think, is one that Riven mains everywhere are looking at picking up. Will be able to be dealt with by Decree of Rage. Just get that away. Old Poro, a card that people are talking about being quite good, basically being able to be played almost like the forecast Legion that drops to 2 that Fury have. So again, another 4 might unit that'll be able to be dealt with quite easily. Akali, Silent. Akali, one of the big champions from this set, from Vendetta. Will be able to deal with that. But of course, Akali, the problem is you're kind of expecting her to have combat tricks and a lot of other things. That is one of the things that this card doesn't deal with, that you've got to be aware of in the Calm domain is, yes, okay, it can't be countered, but they still can go up and above 4 damage. And it is action speed, not reaction speed. So that is something that you need to be aware of as well. So there are windows that this card can be played around. And then Mournful Witness, another one of the cards that we've seen that's going to be high presence in the early game, does go up to Might 4 once it has, of course, become empowered. So those are some cards from Vendetta that you might be looking to use Decree of Rage against. Some other cards that I know really annoy people in the Calm domain from previous sets. I think we have to start with Aurelia Fervent. So an Aurelia is never really 4 might, okay? Let's just get that out ahead of the curve. Obviously goes up to 5 on her own turn, has so many things that target and equip and pump her up above. So you're probably never killing an Aurelia with Decree of Rage unless you get incredibly lucky. However, 4 damage can't be countered does reduce a lot of what Aurelia wants to do in the way of like holding 5 cards in hand and then saying, yes, I have every option, I'm going to be able to beat whatever you've got. So you're probably not killing Aurelia with the card, but the ability to just say, well, you have to now have the right combat tricks or the right ways around this spell in order to survive, gives them another threat to think about. Stellarcorn Herder. Now that is one that you will be able to catch out relatively commonly. Of course, Stellarcorn Herder a little bit more squishy, and you don't really want to invest too much to keep a Stellarcorn Herder alive unless you're able to keep drawing with the Stellarcorn Herder. That's the thing. The longer it stays alive, the more of a nuisance it is. So if you can catch it early, catch it just for 1 and 1, and just say no, Stellarcorn Herder. Not gonna stay alive on this one. Maybe that's a way that we end up seeing Decree of Rage. A card that, when it sticks around, very annoying. Sona Harmonious. Sona, of course, 4 might. Again, another one that, yeah, you were always playing around combat tricks, so Sona is worth investing in, but maybe there's an opportunity to, you know, send in a smaller unit, go up and above with Decree of Rage for that 4 damage. And then finally, similar to Sona but sees less play, things like Ari Alluring that just sit around. You're probably not going to trade. Speaking of which, you knew I was about to talk about a Lonely Poro, weren't you, baby? Didn't you know? You know that Poro was on the menu. Of course, this is Poro. Those of you that know Poro from my streams or from my content will know she is a remnant from the EULCS days, believe it or not. She has been around that long. So you could take out a Lonely Poro with that, but why would you want to? Gives your opponent a card, don't really think it's worth it. That's kind of like desperate situation if you end up in that situation. Decree of Rage. So candidly, I think a lot of the decrees are useful depending on meta. And that's what I would say about these cards is, because in Riftbound we have good deck diversity, you probably won't get too many opportunities to actually play this card in every single game that you jam at your Nexus Knights. If we, for instance, see like Akali as top of the meta, you may want to run this in the same way that we see a lot of gear hate right now for Aurora and a few of the other decks. If we end up in a situation where there's a lot of calm units, I saw some other counter spells being announced already for Vendetta, maybe there's an opportunity to see Decree of Rage played a little bit more. I think it really is kind of meta dependent. Could very well be a sideboard card. I'm a big fan of the decrees in general targeting specific domains. I think the design, kind of like the ecosystem and the canvas is quite blank right now for it, which is good. And it means there's a lot of opportunity to turn things in different ways as we get more sets. So again, we'll see. Maybe things like, I haven't even begun theory crafting like Decree of Rage with like the Void Gate battlefield, or, you know, is there a way to like reduce things like, what am I looking at? Like maybe like Smokescreen and Decree of Rage is actually kind of crazy if you can play that combo and you're removing something for like 3 and 2, I guess is that. So there's interesting ways to play around this, but I'm excited to see how Decree of Rage actually finds its place in the meta. Excited to see how Vendetta changes everything as well. Thank you again to Riot for allowing me to reveal a card. I had a lot of fun theory crafting how to actually reveal this, and I thought, okay, well, the most annoying thing that you can be up against is a player that is like annoying in the way that they play, flicking the cards all over the place and doing that kind of thing, and also just has every single counter, because I know that Defy annoys people like crazy. So had some fun making that, put my terrible acting to the skill, to the test. And yeah, that's what I came up with. So who knows? Maybe they'll give me another card sometime. Maybe they won't. Maybe they'll think, no, this is not what we're looking for in a card reveal. I don't think I'm matching up quite with Spoozy's card reveal with the like the anime fighting that we saw. But nevertheless, we do what we can to make it enjoyable for everyone. And it's one of the final days of previews, so not too long now until you can play with Vendetta yourself at a pre-rift, and myself as well. I haven't played any games. Some of my friends are already theory crafting what they're going to build. I ordered some cards for Kennen because I'm that kind of player. So we'll see. I'm going to have to build a deck that has a Decree of Rage, at least in the sideboard, maybe in the main board. We'll see how that goes. And those of you that are in Barcelona, I will see you there. I will see you at Barcelona. I hopefully will be planning on competing in the main event. I don't know what I'll be playing yet. We'll see how it goes in the lead up to it. Not going to be commentating this event, so I'm definitely going to try and jam some games throughout the weekend. And if you have copies of Decree of Rage, I am going to probably be stacking a binder full of copies of Decree of Rage. And hope you enjoyed the card reveal. I will see you all in Barcelona.